everybody for organizing this great event. It's great to be here for the first time in Delhi. And my topic is sustainable development and evolutionary psychology. And this means Darwinian things. Human as an animal, a species that behaves in a certain manner. And due to certain behavioral tendencies has challenges in acting sustainably and responsibly in a global society. Let's see. I will not repeat what sustainable development. We discussed economic, social, environmental aspects. Different mechanisms for realizing this in society are government law and market-based initiatives, market solutions, private regulation, and values from within the companies, business ethics, different theories for the same purpose, making society more sustainable, different mechanisms, different actors, networks, all is needed as discussed previously today. But how is Darwinian psychology related to these topics? I will discuss some of the human behavioral tendencies that cause challenges or problems for sustainable societies, and begin with the short-sightedness of the human. We like to focus on instant reward and not that much on future uncertain benefits, and that's a problem for sustainability, not looking enough into the future and about the future generations' needs, because the human brain is evolved for the purpose of surviving the next winter, and the brain remains the same even though we have an advanced society and global trade and the internet. Still the brain is in the Stone Age, Paleolithic, caveman mode. So we don't understand these uncertain futures as well as we should. And with slowly developing problems such as the climate change, it's difficult to convince people that the solutions are needed fast. Status quo bias is a known behavioral trait of the human. Behavioral economists have discussed this for a long time, but the evolutionary perspective is about why we behave in this manner. For the caveman brain, again, it's good to stick to what you have, defend the territory you already have, taking a risk if you try to change things and move into something totally different. So risk in the future is difficult for us. And it's better to stick with the regulation you got and law you have currently and habits you have. Normal thing to do is what we like to continue doing. Endowment effect means that you value more what you already have. Instantly when you get something, you begin to value it more. And those who stand to lose will always fight harder against changes in society, like changing to new fuels for energy production. Those fight the hardest who stand to lose the most. So they fight harder than the ones who stand to win. Then we have copying everybody else, being normal, doing the defaults. A human is an ultra-social animal, always copying the tribe, not wanting to stand out, because doing what everybody else is doing is probably best for survival. And don't stand out also means don't stand out as the overachiever. Don't do more than everybody else, because this is not a good thing for a human to be the most pro-social person in the whole tribe, because that will make you exploitable. It's not good to have a reputation of a too good performer, like the best student in the European Union or the best citizen in the global environmental regulation. It doesn't feel right to do more than everybody else, unless you are the tribe leader. There's two ways to move people. Institutional theory is very relevant here, also discussed earlier. Either you are the norm the big masses, the critical mass, the turning point. Enough people doing something will turn over the whole system, like systemic change. Or then we have opinion leaders who have the power to change the opinions of everybody else. So opinion leaders, critical mass, terms of the institutional theory, very much related to also human evolution and brain, evolution of the brain and evolution of human morality. And no social change, no social pressure means no change in behavior. And greed, always wanting more. The more resources, the better. You survive better if you have more resources than the neighbor. And human natural selection is about survival and reproduction. If you have more resources than everybody else, you will benefit, your genes will benefit from this situation. So gathering always more for the winter than the others, and matching up with the neighbors, very important. And status competition among the like, relative status, not absolute. So a woman will compare herself to other Finnish women. Do I have as much as they, or more than they, or less than the others? And not, for example, somebody living in the Philippines or somewhere else. And if you never seem to have enough, that means you will not have to change your behavior or downshift or anything. You always want more. Always have a 6 weeks goal and then get another one, and always want something more, something new. And then lack of empathy is another one. Not feeling the pain means you are not going to care. You don't feel guilt over the things you cannot see and witness yourself. This means emotions have to be involved so that you will actually change your behavior. If you feel guilt over doing too little over some important issue and people, then you can change your behavior, but not without the guilt. But the lack of transparency in global food chain or any product chain or any business means that we cannot see the people we hurt. And that's a problem, because in the caveman's time we knew everybody knew who did what, everybody had a reputation in front of everybody, and our brain still thinks that if I don't know the people I hurt, I'm not responsible. Optimism bias is the fifth one. Nothing bad is going to happen to me, things will solve out by themselves. Society is always moving forward, solutions will arrive, and we have no problem. And nations and companies typically led by optimists, and that's why many people don't see the need to change anything. Because technology and anything really nice will solve all the problems we have. Then denial, just denying, feeling that the contradictory facts are not as good as the facts that reinforce my story. And also wanting to agree with the social group, belonging to a group, having the same opinion as everybody else, my friends. It's very difficult to have a different opinion from your friends. If you resist any new facts, this means you will not change your behavior. Lack of trust, seventh. If you don't trust the other people that are members of the agreement, then the agreement will collapse. If there are free riders, some parties that don't follow the rules, it can make the whole thing collapse. Like if some important nation steps out of the climate agreement, others may start to think whether this is still valid. They might decide it still is, and that's just an exception, this one nation. But if you don't trust others to do their share, you will not do your share. So these seven are kind of behavioral economics, known biases and tendencies, and that distort human decision making into irrational direction. And we try to make them humans more rational by introducing regulation, incentives, giving more information, by exposing them to their behavioral tendencies and helping them overcome these irrational biases. The main problem probably is that there's too much of us. We spend too much everything and you need too much energy. And then we have to use all the land, water, and spoil the air and cut the forests and destroy biodiversity and other species. Too much garbage that nature cannot assimilate. Plastic, oil. Food is one example of the whole unsustainable way of life. A lot of people are hungry, a lot of people are overweight. There's hunger, and then there's food safety and diet-related disease and unfairness in economic terms, in distribution of profit in the food chain. All the nutrient inefficiency in the food chain and environmental impacts and climate change impacts of unsustainable way of producing meat mainly. And animal welfare, one important issue also, but typically not that interesting. It's the least interesting to humans from evolutionary perspective. Of course, our own species matters the most, survival matters the most, food safety is the main thing, and after food safety comes nutrition and environmental impacts, and it's got a priority of important issues. I put this Catholic, not all religions list sins or vices or badness in people. But I think this 7 sins is kind of it represents the things I mentioned earlier. Humans are, the bad side of humans is the greedy, selfish side, lazy, weak side that we have to fight against in order to be better and more responsible and to have a more sustainable society. It's important with I listed some species-specific tendencies, but there are also differences between people. These also related to biology. The testosterone, for example, makes you less empathetic, and high testosterone level. You can check your own level by taking your right hand, and if this finger is taller than this one, then you have high testosterone. So this one taller than that high testosterone level makes you a risk taker. Typically males have this one longer, and these females typically have this one longer. And that makes you competitive, risk taker, less empathetic. Also, infidelity is related, and criminal behavior is related to this finger being long. So there's differences between the brains of the estrogen brain and the testosterone brain. And being a father will lower your testosterone level because of the dopamine. I mean the pheromones. And chemical personalities can be detected. There are dopamine type, serotonin type, testosterone type, estrogen type of people who have different types of typical emotions in typical situations. And then on top of these differences between people, biological differences that also impact morality, we have situation-specific factors that will change moral attitudes and behavior. There was, for example, a test where people were shown a big pile of money, and then after that they were asked about certain questions about the fairness of certain situations, and it really changed them into being more selfish, thinking about money, being more greedy to change your morality. And then the other experiment was the eyes on you impact. If you feel somebody's watching, then you'll be more responsible. If you think people are seeing you, that's critical for the human brain. Everybody's watching, I'm a better person. There's a summary, a lot of biases, weaknesses, greed, not trusting people you don't know, difficult in global society. And then priorities, hungry family will always come before any sustainability responsibility. But let's turn to these solutions now. Humans are only, according to evolutionary psychologists, interested in 4 things: survival, reproduction, kinship, it means family and the people who share your genes, and reputation and reciprocity within the tribe. So you want to survive, you want to have a mate, and then take care of your kids, and then be a respected member in the tribe, so you will not be left alone, which is the catastrophic situation for a human. Humans are very social, needs others, needs a reputation. So harnessing these tendencies, ultimate motives, is key to any behavior change. And here's my list of solutions. What can make the human do the right thing? The main thing is to have transparency and visibility. If you can show off your behavior, get a better reputation, then you might do it. If, for example, in a house, everybody can follow each other's energy consumption, it's a good, like you can compare to everybody else, then you might be pressured into lowering your carbon footprint if it's a competition. It has to be social, has to be a competition, survival of the kindest. There are 2 ways a human can have status. It's dominance or prestige. There are two routes. And if the prestigious leader is responsible and has a good reputation because of that, it will make people follow him and will make girls like that kind of guy. It has to be emotional. Emotions need to be involved. If it doesn't feel like anything, it doesn't make you change your behavior. You need to feel pride, guilt, gratitude, moral emotions. And this can be done through visualizing and showing people and showing emotions and making it a narrative, a story. People are interested in stories, not that much in facts. Also, huge problems can make people freeze if there's no solution. So always you have to frame it as a problem that can be solved. And framing is everything in behavioral economics. You frame the situation so the people will feel like they have the solution and they have the social pressure, they have the tools, and they feel like I have to do it. And law is one important hint of normal and norm and social pressure. And law can actually change, make behavior change much faster. Like we studied the impact of sulfur dioxide regulation on shipping, and immediately when the rules came into force, air quality improved a lot. It would have been really much lower without the regulation. It would have taken many years for any social peer pressure, private regulation to do it as fast as now the global regulation 2020 will be lowering the sulfur content of ship fuel everywhere in the world. Let's see how compliance to that will turn out. But anyway, if there's social pressure, visible transparency, things can be done. Also, human tendencies to appreciate clean water can be harnessed, and the desire to keep these also clean for our future generations. But punishing unfairness is also a very strong tendency in humans. We want to punish the unfair companies and unfair actions of people. So harnessing these tendencies, we want to favor fairness and punish unfairness. Also, I think are parts of the answers to behavior change. Conclusion is that a sustainable development in this modern world does not come naturally for us, but still we have what it takes. Empathy, and we like nature, and we are cooperative, social, respect reputation, and always want to cooperate with people we trust. So I believe we can solve through politics and through markets and through science and citizen pressure and activism, and understanding our limitations is only a part of understanding how we can solve these issues. So we are not limited by our evolutionary history and our brain that's evolved to the Stone Age mode, but we can go beyond caveman morality. There's my email. Thank you.
To the end of the opening line of his report. And if I were to write a report on your presentation today, the catch line which I found in your presentation was survival of the kindest. I think this is something which is very close to our culture also. This is what our scriptures also talk about. And there's such a synergy between the human development goals, our scriptures, our philosophy. And I'm glad that this is coming out so very well in the discussion that we are having today. I'll have Professor Bhavani Dixit.
I edit a journal called World Focus. Basically, it is related to foreign affairs. So, the subject was interesting for me as a layman, but I was just wondering how sustainability can, or it can be engaged with foreign policy issues. Foreign policy is a domain which is basically unsustainable because it is not related to any global issue. Our sovereign nations are concerned about their own interest. So it just can't be sustainable. So as a global phenomena, leaders, diplomats, foreign policy makers, how can they make global environment sustainable? Through their theories, through their actions. Just take the case of Trump. The way he is dealing with climate issues. Most of the sovereign nations, a large majority of people are for this. And a great power like, superpower like Trump, he has his own national interest. So how are we going to match with issues of nation states with that of the global sustainable approaches? That is one. Second, sustainability involves all aspects of human life in the planet and the people around, for the timing and for the future. Do we have sufficient endurance at a global scenario to forecast or to enact any kind of competent legislations or implementations? We don't have. We have just completed this Millennium Goals 2015. Now we are coming to this sustainable goals at a global level. You see, when we discuss about connectivity to our past, particularly let me talk about India. We have so many things in agricultural sector, in tourism destination issues. We have so many things to offer, but the industry, particularly the multinational companies, they cannot digest. Let us say Ayurveda. When a lot of people have trust in India and around about the applicability of Ayurveda in our own medical systems, pharmaceutical industries show different kinds of ramifications, highlighting the disadvantageous points. So how are you going to collaborate with industry, with our indigenous traditional healthcare systems? Let us say China, India. We have so many things to offer to the world. So unless we collaborate, innovate, do much more research, it is difficult to mix up at a global level. The concept of the Western world and Oriental world, they are divergent on thinking and on implementation level. Let me tell something about this herbal plants, aromatic plants. There are so many things like doing in India, which we can, if we grow more, we can export to the outside world also. But we are not doing anything. We are still dependent on allopathy. Homeopathy we are going to discard. We are going to discard Ayurveda. Yoga has come back from Western world to us again. So we have a lot of connectivity from the past. And we have to carry forward those past systems which we have been trusting for so many generations. We have to reinvent. And through collaborations, through entrepreneurial activities, through different kinds of researches, we can, like the universities we see, we read political thought. We are reading political thinkers of the Western world. We don't know anything about our own people who have thought for so many generations. We have thought for the future generations. We don't, because our syllabus is made by the impact of Western world. I am not against Western world, but the point is we don't know ourselves. And now we are having a regime, let us say this new government. So now syllabus are changing, thought process are changing. So when we require sustainability at a domestic level and a foreign policy level also, regime change should not make any impact on our policy issues. Because they are limited to their own vision, their own political structure, their own orientations. So we must have leaders. Somebody was telling in the morning, the leadership, they have to be sustainable also. So we must have such leaders who can think for future generations, not for the next election, or not for the winning a by-election or something. So leaders from different political parties, they have to be also nurtured at a global level. And specifically in India, the requirement is much more. Because our leaders are very short-sighted, election-oriented. They don't have any political thought process. History they don't know. They will talk of today, what somebody is saying, what. These are not sustainable approaches to life and the political processes. So what I want is, let us say, this Ayurveda, I belong to a place, it is a coal mine belt. Underground there is coal mining, open cast there is coal mining. And had there not been any World Bank kind of thing, nobody, there was not any department of rehabilitation and resettlement. Human issues are never primarily given any significance in any policy making. We just take things superficially. Unless some earthquake takes place or some super cyclone comes around, we don't think of disaster management. There is no preparedness. So that human sentiment, the brain is still at the same level. So we have to reorient our thought process, our mind, and we must accept change, not according to adaptations. Change we must do for future generations. We must not think for ourselves. This Shyamlal College was different 50 years ago. Because of many circumstantial changes, we are sitting at this level. There was no room here itself, I have seen. This college was known for not good reasons. But now see, here we are having an international conference. And that to such a very, very serious issue. In a college it is not perceived, at least in Delhi University. In a Delhi University college like Shyamlal College, when you are holding and you are participating in such very, very serious global issues, this itself is a very, very revealing thing for. Congrats to the organizers, and let us all join together to reorient ourselves, to make necessary changes, whatever we can, and hope, I am sure we can. Thank you.
Dr. Dikshit, for our delegates from Finland, why, about the bit about your post institution, Shyamlal College. This was started way back in 1960s, when this part of Delhi was a very, very backward area. It was not integrated with the main city, which is across the river. And we then had just one bridge, the Iron Bridge, old Iron Bridge, which connected this part of this thing to Delhi. In fact, this area was not even called Delhi. It was called Shadra. And this college was started by the founders, Lala Shamlal, whose family still looks after the college, for the backward communities who were residing the education for them. Thereafter, the development, and one of the biggest factors which has played a role in development of this whole Trans-Yamuna area, one has been the rise of Delhi Metro, whose executive director was to be here today. It has integrated this part of the city with the other parts of the city. One of the professors who had come here for the morning session, he had travelled about 50 kilometers for today's session, and he could do it because of the metro. So one, metro played a very decisive role in integrating these parts of the city, and two, the holding of Commonwealth Games in Delhi in 2010, which needed development of modern infrastructure, and then government chose this part of Delhi to be developed for hosting Commonwealth Games. The Commonwealth Games village, you will find it here in this part of the city, and the related development. So, once you have development of the area, the institutions which were there are now serving the needs of the people. The catchment area improved. That's how you are having such brilliant students here today who have been able to organize this conference. My hearty congratulations to them. The next speaker of the day, Professor Ali Liban, I have heard you earlier, sir. I'm looking forward to hearing you again.
Okay. Thank you, Chair, for kind words. And remembering what you heard in October. I do have a different topic, and in October